Hi guys, it's Emily from Novelle Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my October wrap-up part 2. Now, in October I did read less books because the books that I read were massive and they were Victorian and I had half term, which half term really knocked my reading. I read a lot less in the last week than I would normally read because obviously I had the children, and I hit a real reading slump after a certain book, which you would have heard about in the first half of my wrap-up part 1. But I hit a real reading slump and I just couldn't get my groove back. I found like my reading in October wasn't as good. According to my star ratings, I've still done well, but it didn't feel like I had that many books that would be like, yes, I love them, and oh my god, I'm never going to forget them, because they were good books, but nothing that really delivered, on me. But first things first, I'll do the next few minutes of stats. I have done well. My book haul will be the next videos. I've got one extra video planned for November, which will be a tag video that the lovely Ross from Scally Dangly about the books tagged me in. So that will be that. I will link, actually I'm going to link the Victober host down below, so I want to thank them all for Victober because it was enjoyable. I did find some new books that I really enjoyed. I certainly read books that got me excited, and I found a new book that will be on my favourites of the year so far. So here are the stats. I read a total of 33 books. 31 were off my unread TBR. One was a borrowed book and one was a book that I reread. So I've actually now that I've got my unread TBR down, I'm allowing myself to read one borrowed book a month. So I'll finally get the books I borrowed from my family down. I gained 24 books. So you'll see in the book haul 5 were gifts and I only bought 19. Me was a flipping miracle. That will change this month because I'm going out with Charlie, hopefully. And I'm going out at the end of the month with some other booktubers. Yes, next month will be different. But I did unhaul 5 books off my unread TBR. I think you would have already seen, you probably would have seen my very, 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 very unsuccessful try chapter tag. So my October unread TBR was 385. It's gone down to 373. I read 12. I got down by 12. So yay! You never know. I might even get to my 350. If I don't, I don't. To be honest, I'm not pushing myself now. I'm not going to push myself now. I kind of want to keep. I want to keep my library. So that doesn't mean I'm not going to buy as many books. That doesn't mean I'm not going to. But it means that I'm actually going to allow myself time to read ebooks. I might start doing that. That's something going forward. I might even allow myself to start reading ebooks from the library, because I never let myself do that because I thought, oh, I've got to get my unread TBR down. So I'm going to change the way I'm reading in the fact that I'm going to read one borrowed book a month, and I'm going to use my e-read. I'm going to use the borrow box, and you get an ebook, I think, because I really want to kind of enjoy having my library. I'm still going to buy books. I'm still going to read all my books, and that number will still go down, but it doesn't need to be pushed down as much as it was, because I got it. This is kind of the level for me, like anywhere between 300 books unread is where I'm happy. I think if I got it down to 300, maybe that might be a realistic number of unread books, but I don't want it to feel like I'm pushing myself anymore, waffling again. So the genres, I read one fantasy book, which I really enjoyed, one thriller book. That number I've not got anywhere near as many thrillers, so I'm not going to be pushing myself to read a thriller a month next year. One poetry book, obviously Victober. 3 non-fiction books, that will be equal or more next month because it's obviously non-fiction November in November. 7 classic books, Victober, that number was bound to be high. 9 historical fiction books, that's good. And 11 contemporary. So those numbers are still very, very similar, which is because they're my go-to zones. They're my favourite genres, and more importantly, they're the genres I own the most of. I read 1 2-star book, that's good. 3 3-star books, 5 3.5-star books, 10 4 stars, 5 4.5 stars, and 9 5 stars. Yeah, I know that all sounds loads of the high ratings, but for me I think some of the books I've rated 5 stars in the second half weren't necessarily 5 stars, if that makes sense. But that's just me being soppy probably. Okay, so let's talk about the books. My one of my 3 stars was Treasure Island, but that was because I literally read it straight after finishing The Woman in White. The Woman in White was the book that set me in my slump. It was alright. I read it with Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelves. She loved it a lot more than I did. It's just, I don't know if it's the time that I read it in. I tried to push it in a weekend. I was trying to force myself to read quite a lot, quite fast. So I was probably reading it too fast, and I don't think I absorbed it. So that's possibly why that's only 3 stars. So that one's getting kept. I read The Mill and the Floss over the whole month with the lovely Gemma from Gemma Books. And that was 3 stars. It was a lot of waffle in that book. It was a lot of fluff and pandering, and what started the book with Maggie being a strong female protagonist, I thought, oh my god, I'm going to love it because she's feisty as a kid and she's brilliant, and her brother Tom, and you love their relationship. And then she got really self-pitying and a bit depressing, and yeah, it wasn't, like, it was alright, and there were bits that I still really enjoyed, but god, and the ending was just a bit like, okay. So it was 3 stars. It was alright, it just wasn't what I call amazeballs, if that makes sense. And I'm glad I read it over the month. I'm reading middle March this month, in November. Maybe I like that more. I am still keeping that. And then I read The Peacocking Poem by Jojo Moyes. And again, this is okay, but it's not Jojo Moyes' best book, so it's not going to be one I'm going to keep. It's Athene Foster, and I thought it'd be more about, like, the historical fiction, but it's got stuff in the contemporary era that I didn't like as much, and just, it's not one I'm really going to remember, to be honest. It's about our Athene sister, our Athene Forster embraced the 60s like few others. Nicknamed the last Deb, she's spoilt, beautiful and out of control. And within 2 years the rumours have begun. And yeah, and then we go into present day. 35 years on, Suzanne the Peacock finds refuge from her mother's shameful legacy in the shop, the Peacocking Poem. There are some triggers in this book though, so please ask me before you read this, because there are some triggers I didn't expect and I didn't like, and I found them hard hitting. So it was alright, but nothing amazeballs. Then for 3.5 stars, so this is Arndale by Wilkie Collins, and again there are points of this book that I really enjoyed, but whereas The Women in White had different narratives, I loved it, it was exciting. This had a lot of repetitive bits where I got lost. There are bits in this, like there is the villainess in this, Lydia Gwilt, who, oh my god, she's like one of the worst villainesses ever. Worst as in like most villainous, and she's evil, and oh my god. And I think Wilkie Collins has an amazing ability to create characters that you love to hate. Wilkie Collins could smash that out of the park. But whether it's because I read this straight after The Woman in White that I didn't enjoy it as much or not, I don't know. Because I know Katie at Books and Things loves this. But I didn't like it as much. There's 2 Ellen Arndales, the elderly one and the younger one. And I got a bit lost on that. There are some other characters that are okay, but nothing spectacular. It's a good book. But after reading The Woman in White, it wasn't like as amazing for that. But I still want to keep. Then this is probably 3.5 stars because it was just the sugar candy I needed. It was literally like soft, contemporary, fun, easy. Like, it's one of her earlier books. Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. It's one of her earlier books, so it is very, very like soft and very funny, and very does not require much brain power to read, but it does teach you about growing up and about is money everything? No, it isn't. And preconceptions and young people, and it's fun, it's cheesy, it's easy. I'm not keeping that. And then the next 2 are ones I read from my Try Chapter tag. This is again one of Freya North's books. It was literally, I'm not going to be, I don't think I'm going to be pushing myself to read any more of this author's books. I loved her latest book, which is Little Wing, which is a book I read for a read-along by Tandem. But her earlier works are full of sex, graphic scenes. And the storyline's okay, but it's not amazing. This one had a bit of an edge to it because it's got an older protagonist who I loved. I love books with older protagonists. And she was the one that really made the book. Like, it wasn't the romance between the 2 lead characters, Stella and Xander. It was the older protagonist who is at the heart of the book. And she is the one that I loved. But it's about rumours and single parent, and again, you got some triggers in this, so going forward, let me know. But it's okay. But it was just nothing spectacular. And I thought the sex scenes were too graphically demonstrated. You know, there's sex scenes and then there's too rude. And then there was Miss You, and this has been compared to One Day by David Nichols. And it's very similar. It really is. It's about two different characters, two different storylines. They meet briefly when they're young, and then they go through their lives. And when they meet up as adults at the end of the book, you see how it all ties together, where they could have met and missed you. Their lives could have been different if they would have met and got together at the start of the book. But again, there are triggers for cancer in this, and triggers for grief, and a few other triggers. But it was okay. It just wasn't amazing, and I think the two storylines could have connected a bit better. But I've read it, done it. Then on to my 3.5 star. No, on to my 4 stars. My brain will kick into gear in a minute. I want to get this read so I can do reading. I'll get this video done so I can do some reading. Reap the Harvest by Margaret Dickinson. This is the 3rd in the series. I should have read the 1st and 2nd, which the 1st and 2nd are Plough the Furrow and Sow the Seed. Again, this was okay. I'm looking back at it. I rated it 4 stars, but I probably would have, if looking back, could have changed that to like 3.5, because it could have been. I think I rated it 4 because if I would have read the other 2, it might have been better. But this is the youngest generation. There's 3 generations these series set on, and we've got the granddaughter of the first person in the first book. Kind of would like to read. If I find Plough the Furrow or Sow the Seed, I'll get them. But it definitely affected the fact that I read that. I mainly read it because it was an autumn book that I wanted to get read. And it's a concluding trilogy. And it's mainly sort of set in the 1950s. And it's about secrets that have been there and buried. 3 generations, connecting them all together. Secrets, family history. Yeah. It's good. Not amazing, but it's good. Then my buddy read with Gemma, who was previously Read a Book Gem. She's still on Instagram. And this is Eve Ibbotson, Magic Flutes. It is set in 1922 in Verona, I think, mainly. It's about Tessa, who is pretending to be someone she's not. And you've got the English man who is, what's his name? My brain is gone. And this was good. It was historical fiction. The lead characters I really did like. The fact that I can't remember his name is annoying me, because that means that obviously the fact that I've forgotten him. Guy. Those 2 protagonists, Guy and Tessa, are really great strong lead characters. It is a good book, but there is a lot of sub-characters and sub-storylines that I did get a little bit lost at times. But I did like the 2 lead characters, and it is good, but good. And I definitely want to read more Eva Ibbotson books. She's written loads. I've got one of her YA books, YA historical fiction books on my shelf, so I'm definitely going to read that. This is good. Not amazing. Good. Very good read. Still not going to keep that though. Then we've got my borrowed books that I borrowed from Mum. Yeah, she can have this back. 4 stars, and half of it is good. It's 2 storylines. You've got the past storyline of 1942, which is amazing. I think if it was just that, it could have been 5 stars. That storyline was incredible. But you've got then you've got the present day storyline. And there are triggers for gambling addiction, which is too much for me, and cheating. And it's that cheating trope that I hate. It's the biggest hating trope. And the fact that this lead character didn't guess what was going on at the start, when I'm looking at it going, as a reader, I can blatantly see it. So, as you know, that grated me, and that really wound me up. And the gambling addiction storyline is just, again, that's going throughout this. It's a subplot rather than a main plot, but it still upset me. But then you've got the Bletchley Park storyline where this lady's grandmother lives at Bletchley Park, and she's got a romance, and there's exciting and it's thrilling, and you've got some twists and turns, and I love that. But the present day one really wound me up. And there's too many things that I just couldn't like. But yes, 4 stars. But Mummy can have that back. Now we got a book that I read. If you would have seen my victober blog, I read that on the last weekend of Victober. Hard Times by Charles Dickens. I read that purely because I want to get all of Charles Dickens' main books read by the end of the year. I'm not including The Mystery of Edwin Drood because I think that was a book he didn't finish. but all the other ones are going to get read. And I had a bit of time, and this was short and sweet, and 4 stars, but it was a good 4 stars in the fact that it really is about hard times. It's about a family, and it's set in Coketown, which is a typical red brick industrial city and factories, and you've got the harsh regimes are enforced by Josiah Boundary, who I hate. But then you've got the sensational disciplinarian, you've got personal tragedies of Louisa Grandgrindle, whatever, I can't say it right. Very hard times. And then you've got Stephen Blackpool's tragedy, and then you've got Louisa's brother, who's, oh my god, and then you've got some other really good characters. It's hard times, it's wit, it's good humour, it's got some funny bits, some hard time bits, tragic stories. It is really good. I really enjoyed it, and it's making me really look forward to Dickens' work next year. Can't wait. Then I got 2 4.5 stars. And this one was one that I didn't expect to be 4.5 stars. The lovely Charlie from Charles Heathcote sent me this years ago, and I enjoyed it. I actually not enjoyed it, but I couldn't bloody put it down. It was gripping, it was thrilling, it was exciting, it was scary, but not too scary. Yeah, it was quite scary actually. It was about an infamous seance, a house burdened with grief, a secret that can no longer stay buried. It was good. It was a historical fiction set in England in 1925. Louisa Drew lost her husband in the First World War and her 6-year-old twins by the Spanish flu epidemic. And then she's pregnant, and 7 months pregnant at the start of this. And she's asked by an employer to travel to Clewer Hall to photograph the contents of a house for auction, but it had like a seance there. And that ghostly element runs through this, and you're like worried about Louisa. Will she keep her baby? Will her baby be put in danger? Oh my god, it was good. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed this. I'm giving it away because I want someone else to read it, but it was really, really good. If you like spooky books, and I'm a wimp, if I could handle this, it's spooky but historical fiction spooky, so really, really good. Thoroughly recommend that. And then you guys know I got a Tandem Book for a read along. This was the 3rd, I think. And I've got the 4th. I'm trying to listen to an audiobook because you lot keep putting up loads of videos. I can't bloody listen to my audiobook. It's 3rd in series, so I can't talk too much about it. But it is about Nancy Nettleton and Raymond de Guise, who are like getting married. And then they've got their other characters from this ball ground. It's set just at the start, just before the war's about to kick off in London in 1938. And it's really good. It's got a bit of mystery, it's excitement. 4.5 stars. Thoroughly loved it. Definitely my first keepy book. Then we're on to my 5 stars, and this video hopefully won't be too long. We've got The Night is Darkening Around Me, which is my Emily Bronte poems, which was my reread. I thoroughly loved this book. There is some poems in this that are amazing. Where is it? There's one that literally, I think there's a line in here. Why did I not save this? There's one poem called Stars, and I'll tell you the first verse. Ah, why the dazzling sun restored our earth to joy? Have you departed everyone or left a desert sky? Remembrance is really good. Where's another one? There's one that's really amazing, and I did not save that. Hope. Oh my god, I love this one. Hope. Hope was but a timid friend. She sat without the garden den, watching how my fate would tend, even as the selfish-hearted men. She was cruel in her fear through bars one dreary day. I looked out to see her here, and she turned her face away. Like a false guard, false watch keeping, still in strife, she whispered peace. She would sing while I was weeping. If I listened, she would cease. False what she was, and unrelenting, when my last joys were strewed to the ground. Even sorrow saw, repenting, those sad relics scattered round. Hope, whose whisper would have given, felt balm to my frenzied pain, stretching her wings and soared to heaven, went and never returned again. Loved it. Amazing. Just loved it. And the next one's 5 stars. Obviously 5 stars. And this is Selected Letters by Charlotte Bronte. Amazing. I read this with my sister Charlie. We read a few letters each day. And this is the best representation I've heard of Charlotte Bronte, because you get to see all her different sides. She was a very complex character. Out of the Bronte, she was the one that lived the longest. But she's very complex, and you see letters to Elizabeth Gaskell, you see letters to her publishers where she's fighting for her books, You see letters to one of her best friends, Ellen Nassy. I love this book. I'm going to reread it any day. It's because it shows her feisty side, but it shows her sensitive side. It shows that her love for her sisters. There was one letter where she just lost Emily, or when Emily's dying, and oh my god, it broke me. It made me cry my eyes out. It made Charlie cry. It was just touched my heart. It's amazing. Yeah. Then we've got The Library by Bella Osborne. This one did deserve 5 stars. And it was a book that was given to me by the lovely Danny from Danny's Book World. And I love Danny. Danny's one of my best friends, BookTube and friends in general. And this is about a library, but it's more than about a library. It's a game. We've got an older protagonist, we've got a teenager, and we've got their life issues and their own struggles, and their friendship runs throughout this book. And it's just amazing. Loved it, loved it, loved it. It's one I recommend. It's my first Bella Osborne. My mum's got one of hers, so yeah, talking about borrowed books, I'm going to be nabbing one of her other books because I want them. I want all her books. This was just amazing. Then obviously a 5 stars. It was going to be, it's Heidi Swain's book. It's Mince, Pies and Mistletoe. Heidi Swain is my second favourite contemporary author. I'm collecting all her books. This one is set in Christmas. I've got to get all her books read. I want to get all of this series read by the end of the year. And this is about Ruby, who's finished with university and heading home for the holidays. So this one is more of a younger person's book, and she's got a romance, and she meets her ex Steve, and she's trying not to get with him because obviously they broke up. But she's feisty and she stands up to her dad. She fights for her community. It's a thoroughly, warm, cosy book. I loved it. Then we've got a book that surprised me because I've heard that a lot of people didn't like Fly Away. It's the sequel to Firefly Lane, and a lot of people didn't like it. Now for me, yes, it was slower paced. Do you know what? I've changed my mind about something. No, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, this is one I'm going to keep. It's mainly tackles Tully's. This one is about Tully because obviously her best friend, Kate Bryan, died in the Firefly Lane. Sorry, spoiler. But this is about Tully's life after that, and she is on a self-destruct mechanism, but so is Kate's daughter, Mara, and they're the 2 main lead characters in this. And then we've got Kate's husband, Johnny, is also in this, and it's their storyline. And then we've also got Tully's mother, Cloud, and how the storylines interlink, and it really ties up Firefly Lane in all the best ways. This still destroyed me. I cried so much in this flipping book. I am really torn between that and that as my favourites of the non-Victober books because they were both amazing. But yeah, at the time of filming, I'm not sure. I wrote this was down going to be my non-Victober favourite book, but I'm still thinking about that. So I don't know. But that was just amazing. And then the last book, the book that I literally finished on the last day of October, I fought to finish this yesterday because my kids were driving me flipping insane. And I've read all of Laura Jane Williams' books, and I've read The Lucky Escape, The Love Square, One Stop. They are all cosy books that I'm going to keep. But what I loved about this is that it's got a lot more diversity in it, a lot more characters with different sexualities, different colours. It really is diverse, and that's something that we need to see a lot more in contemporaries. But this is obviously about a romance. It's about, they start this book, these 2 people, Ruby and Nick. They start off this book. One is leaving the centre of the capital of England, London. One is just moving there, and they know they've got one night together, but that's never it. And it's their lives when they kind of go off and they do their own thing, and they meet up and then they go off, and it's here, there, and everywhere. But it ended amazingly. It was a really good book. It's one that I definitely again need to reread because I was reading it when I was stressed out, but it was a really good book, and it's one I'm definitely keeping. So yes. So because I keep changing my mind, that is now my favourite non-Victober book. My favourite book of the whole month in total was The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. It's actually going on my favourites of the year so far because I cannot get this book out of my head. It was amazing. It's the best classic I've read all year. I really, really loved it more than ever. So what was your favourite Victober book if you joined in Victober? What was your favourite non-Victober book? Let me know your favourite books of the month so far. Have you all had a good October? Let me know down below. You are all very special to me, and I'm grateful for every one of you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, not subscribed yet, bring on my ding-a-ling, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.